3, 2, 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to oppose the priority developing child talent that non-lucrative to lucrative field due to the risk of failure and misusing the child as money maker, and due to the manufacture of probability risk to be failed in non-lucrative child talent. So, here's the thing of my rebuttal. The first one is only pushing their child to make such choices without thinking it, and making them to be more freely choosing their future without knowing the consequences of it. This would likely make their children have the ability to pick their future career freely and didn't know the consequences of it, because due to the many fact of the niche talent that requires talent would likely to be seen as a low prestige job. So that's my first rebuttal. And the second one is that the immature child will likely pushing their talents, and the next day they don't have the mood for such of improving talent and skill, due to the jealousy that brings overman and the fact that kids were only FOMO, or which means fear of missing out, because of their friends. So many of them feels like they had to following the trends because they afraid of them getting left behind by their friends, such as that, and the fact they're up changing mood, making it would likely to pushing these kids don't have a passion. So that's all my rebuttal. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my rebuttal, and I would like to moving into my speech that includes background and my argument. So the backgrounds will include definitions, status quo, stakeholder, and the urgency and our goals. And into my argument, I will explain it later. So the first one, by the background, we would like to move on into definition. So, prodigy refers to a highly talented child who demonstrates exceptional talent or ability in a specific field at a level significantly above their age group. Moving on, non-lucrative fields refer to a field that offers limited financial stability or income despite require a high level of skill and dedication, such as arts, musicians, stuff like that. Lucrative fields refer to a field that offer high financial reward, strong income potential, and long-term economic stability. But we think it only creates a missed opportunity to the children for their career and their future path. So, moving on into my status quo, many of the niche talents still has been seen as the low prestige jobs due to the low income. But the fact is those jobs were true, since they didn't have much income, only for a while to get the fame of their career before they're struggling again. So they got money from their fame, but only for a second, only for a while, then would likely to be struggling again. Moving on into my stakeholder, there are 3 stakeholders in my speech, which are including children, parents, government. Moving on into my urgency, children is the one who's had their future path, so they're ones that holding that their career, their future, stuff like that. And parent is the one who's pushing the kids' future, and have and the main reason are the one who pays for their future path. I will explain it later into my argument. And the government is the one who's recommended it. So, moving on into our goal, we would like oppose the priority developing child talent that non-lucrative to lucrative field due to the risk of failure and misusing the child as moneymaker. So that's all of my background. We will moving on into my argument. Before I go into my argument, I will divide it into 3 sections, which are: the first one is that job opportunities, 2 is that financial economy, and the third one, or the last one, is that by talent. So moving on into first one, which is the job opportunities. Child pick their talents and became tool for their future, right? So child pick their talent and becoming a tool for their future path, such as their career and their dreams. Because of that, many of them pick the school based through their talent to improvement their skill and to pursue their dreams. So they graduate and try to find a job. But here's the thing: many of them has been failed due to not having the requirement of the abilities that many company needs, or the many job requirements that needs. This would likely to make them start to regret their talents due to the fact that they don't have a job opportunities because they're using their talents as a tool for a future path. So this basically means that their tool or their talent were useless, because due to the fact many of them didn't have a jobs to find a job. This would likely to only increase the rate of unemployment to the country. This became the issue of the society and the country, and this is why that many of the non-lucrative fields only seen as a low prestige jobs because of the risk of their failing due to many of the jobs requirement didn't need the ability that they have, and this was likely to become the issue of society and the country and make an example that many of people thinking, oh, you shouldn't get into arts because the low income and the stuff like that. Oh, you shouldn't get into the musician because the low income and you will ending up to be a busker such as. So the example that is that painters often sell their art in a street. Many of them has been implemented in many films or series. Moving on, that many musicians has becoming a busker. This can you can know by it because of the due to the many of them had a social media and uh, try to see in the global that they had talents, but due to their talents and the job requirements that they don't have, this would likely to become a failure to the society. So that's my first argument. I'll moving on into my second argument, that is financial economy. So moving on, we'll be realistic, right? So many of the parents don't want to pay their children due to their fashion because many of the parents have a better expectation for the child, such as they had to become a doctor or they had to become a pilot or they had to become the government or stuff like that, right? But because of the government who's pushing this program, this would likely to pushing the child's talent. But many of the fact that financial weren't the same by the family. So because of this has been a struggling, and the worst thing is that their children pick the non-lucrative fields that didn't have much income to them. So if they pay their child's school, so basically their money will be running out. You may ask why. Well, here's the fact that many of them pick the non-lucrative fields, right? And only had to be failure to the society as they don't have a job opportunity as stuff like that. This would like that their money will be running out since they're old, etc. because of their because of the parent was old, they didn't get the replacement of money because they can't work not again, they can find a job again due to the act restriction. This would likely their children didn't get the job and increasing the impoverished rate to the countries. That is my second argument. The third one or the last one is that by talents. Many of the kids who has a talent had to be realistic due to their physical career considered as a low prestige job, as I mentioned before in my first argument that painters had to sell their art in street musician. Better if they pick a better skill since they would still have a job and financial good. And also talent can be scaled up and can have more money due to their talents and to become a second job that making them increase. So that's so I concluded all of my argument and we would like to oppose the program of this. That's all.